Right, and that's one of the things that's so crazy. When you look at it, like you were saying, like all the math that you had ever learned was covered in that first 30 minutes, and it's like, okay, you were able to have other means academically to get where you are, and then you also had your athletic ability. But it's just like you sort of feel bad because you're like, okay, these other people might have also had this opportunity, but like maybe they didn't show out as much athletically, so like they'll be relegated to this other place. It's just, I don't know, in my head it's just sort of crazy how just this one chance thing happening, puts you in New York City, and now you're sitting in a classroom that, per the educational standards of our state, you should be more than equipped to be in. But yet you see, obviously in other places, this is something that was seen as a must do type of situation. But because you played football, the assumption was, oh, he's not ever really going to need this, so why even work it in for him to be able to do both,
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, like that pre-calc class was just kind of like a throwaway one semester of the year we had this class because we got this little tiny group of people that might be interested in taking it. And
Right.
so like, and then like, with funding and stuff at little schools like that, like, yeah, we don't have enough funding to have a teacher that teaches pre-calc like every semester and does all this stuff or whatever. So like, it's kind of those situations of those areas. It holds the kids back because it's like, it's just not opportunity there for it. And then if you don't have like a platform like football or something like that where there's my Ivy League coach up there. I mean, I know he's defensive coordinator. It was Bob Shoots. I mean, Mike Shoots. I think what is his name? Yeah, Bob Shoot. Yeah, Bob Shoot was his name. But he was defensive coordinator at Tennessee and at Penn State. Well, that coach up there is trying to make a name for himself, so he wants to get some good players. And so when he sees I got the grades and stuff like that, like they're going to come down and try to get players like me. You know what I mean? So it's like it was even in the Ivy League situation. Like even though academics are first, you still have that of like if I couldn't have really provided something for them, would they have come down to Tennessee to come find me and
Right.
put the pressure around me to help me succeed in that situation? So yeah, I mean, it's still like kind of the system still working, even though it worked in my favor. It was like, yeah, but I needed to be able to really provide something for them to give me that opportunity.
Right, right. And that's something else that talking about opportunities and things of that nature. So I know the cost of living in New York is drastically different than Tennessee. Was there some sort of stipend provided, or like how were you able to survive, I guess, um, in New York, like not having a job, and because you can't work and play. So how did that work?
Well, they actually did let us. We could do work study since we weren't on an actual paid athletic scholarship.
Oh
So what they
yes,
do is they
okay.
give us, yeah. So they don't give those. They give academic scholarships. So and it's based off of your means. So basically, they look at your family income and stuff like that, and then they create like if you meet the bar academically, they'll help you with financial support based off of like your parents, your income. But I mean, yeah, so we had meal plans that you would buy into or whatever, and then you could play a payment plan over the year, kind of into your tuition. And then also, I did have a work study job my second year at the Columbia Business School, and so I did. I could do that, and it helped like offset a little bit of it. But basically, I mean, like if there's every time it's like a holiday or something like that, and like the cafeterias and stuff like that are closed, like yeah, no, people had to plan for that because you can't just be. I mean, you got the little corner store, like the little,
Bodega.
uh, yeah, you got the little bodega, whatever, like Chinese restaurant down the street. You can do that, but like not if you want to actually eat some healthy, good food. Like yeah, there were many options for that because at cost.
Do you think your experience would have been different? Well, obviously it would have been different, but do you think your experience would have been better if it was a situation where they actually did pay players, as some people have sort of talked about in the last couple years? Do you think that system is something that does need to change, where players should be compensated for what they're doing on the athletic field for schools?
I think in my situation, it wouldn't make any difference. And the way I kind of look at it is that I'm a realist, and I'm playing like football and stuff. Like I realize, like, hey, the better players going to get better advantages, and different people going to take care of them. Like, if you're not that talented, if you're not bringing it in, then like, yo, you may not get the same. So I get that. And so when I look at it, when they talk about paying the players, I think if you're in like a Power Five conferences or in these conferences that had these TV contracts, like, yeah, they should get paid because they're going to ask them to do a lot of things that are going to sacrifice their academics and different things like that to make sure that you can make this Tuesday night MAC game. You know what I mean? Like you're going to have to do all those things. And for me, like I don't think we really brought in the money like that we would have got any kind of money made any kind of difference. But yeah, I mean, I know there's some players on our team that from like my background wasn't necessarily as hard as far as like income wise, but there was a lot of dudes on the teams that like, yeah, like they really came from some bad situations where, I mean, they couldn't afford to go home for Christmas break and stuff like that. Like nobody could buy a plane ticket and stuff for them. So like, yeah, if they could have got some kind of compensation on that, that would have been able to help them out, or at least to let the school just be able to say, okay, this is a situation. We convinced this kid to come up here from, I don't know, Louisiana and like New Orleans or whatever to come play football for us. And like, yeah, now we got this kid sitting up here for Christmas in the New York dormitory because he can't afford to fly home and we can't help him. Like, I think that's just dumb by the NCAA that like you can't just look at one-off situations. Like, if the school's got the money and the means to do it, to just help kids out when it makes sense.
Well, and that's something I never even thought of. So, like, how do they get up there? They paid their way up there, right? I'm assuming.
Yeah. You pay your way up, or like you fly up or fly back and all that stuff. Like, whenever you're doing that for like not for actual football, like yeah, you pay all your own stuff on that.
Got you.